this is I haven't really thought to ask this before. How many times have you pulled up to the gym and subsequently left? I don't like doing the glasses with the camera, but I need to get a new visor. It's like freaking dangerous. I'm looking right into it. But how many times have you rolled up, something wasn't clicking, and then you said, I gotta get out of here. I gotta freaking scram. You know what I'm saying? It's I haven't been hit with that often. I've heard a couple infamous characters, not infamous in like a good way, guys say they'll come in, something's off, and then just head back home. Even this is like maybe a year and a half ago ish. I came in to do chest, and then I totally tweaked my left pec and I pulled it pretty hard, so just like a muscular tear, not like off the bone kind of deal, like I'm still benching today, but it was a good pull. Like, it was hurt. There was no more chest that day, so instant pivot. It's like, all right, no more chest, let's do back. Like, I made sure not to hurt it any further, but it's like, I don't know, like my version of hard-headedness makes me say, like, I want to make it happen in some way or another. And I guess it just wouldn't feel good to leave. Like, I guess maybe I just call it before that even happens. Like, I would say, like, okay, we're doing a rest day today, and if I already kind of tell myself I'm gonna go, maybe I stick to that a little bit harder than I should. Because, I wonder, how many lifts have I gone into, and then maybe it actually would have been better to save it for the next day, and that's assuming it's like a physical feeling kind of thing. In terms of mental game, you gotta be, I'd have to really be having some stuff go down for me to come in, and then like I couldn't get my head into it, and I said, I gotta get out of here. I gotta go back home and chill. Like, that wouldn't click for me as well. But, I've definitely had it before. Like, oh man, I don't remember. There's like this one time I hurt my knee, but, well, no, that was on the way back. Yeah, that's a totally different scenario. Yeah. Well, no, I guess not super often. But if you have a story like that, I would like to hear it. Whether it was just like you went extra hard the day before, you could tell you were still sore, or maybe just just like some kind of, you had something going on, right? It's certainly not, like, don't get me wrong, I'm not going to sit here and say, like, dude, if you don't work out every day, no breaks, no rest day ever, you just don't want it enough, right? And I think there are people like that, and that's not a good take. I'm a little prone to skip my rest days just because I like the, like the workload of it. Like, the idea of not working out and having that be more productive at least some subconscious level in my mind is hard to grasp, right? It's like, if I want to get better at something, I've got to do it, right? I've got to like be in there actually making it happen. And I think on the spectrum of like over consistency like that versus under consistency, I'd rather be on this side. I'd rather be prone to go to the gym more than necessary than go less, and that's kind of my take with a lot of stuff. Like I said this a while ago. I tried, I don't know, I didn't even need to do it. It was on vacation with I was with Mark. We were down in one of like Hilton Head, and I'm squatting, and I ate a bunch of Kit Kats, so I was like carved up. But I go for 6 plates on squats. I only get like 3 reps, or like maybe 4 or something. And it kind of really encapsulated like how I feel about the training in general. Is like, I don't want to call it early, because then what am I supposed to do? I'm going to sit here and like wish. I'm going to like guess I could have done more in the future. Like, I'd rather at least essentially like play every hand as hard as I can. And then, the only thing I could maybe look back on is like having to say like, oh, yeah, maybe I could have taken a couple more rest days. I went too hard. And I don't know, but that sounds like a way cooler thing to think than having to, kind of reminisce. Like, this is far future. But then having to think back and think, man, I could have done more. Like, that sucks. Crap, I did too much Like, that might suck maybe, but it definitely seems more appealing to me to say, man, I went too hard. So that's just a personal wiring thing that gets me going. But that gets me excited, and that's so I guess sometimes it gets kind of tricky for me to talk about, or not talk about, but like get the perspective of the up-and-comer lifter, right? The beginner guy, the dude who's been into it, or maybe got into it like a couple years ago and was totally crazy consistent, jacked. Like, you still look at those old photos back in the, like 2012 or something. But then life gets in the way. Like, it's not that I don't understand that can happen. Everybody's got shit to do. And when I'm talking consistency, for me, it's like, well, this is just like a lot of circumstances have aligned very well where I can really get after it on a super consistent basis. So, it's like, just try to get excited. That's all I can really say. It's like, as long as you're excited about it, you're going to have a better time, right? Because who's not excited? Like, imagine you got a call tomorrow that said, hey man, you got to get on a 16-hour flight. Our startup company has to go get this particular file from our representative down in Australia. So we're going to send you down on a 16-hour flight. You're going to meet the guy at the airport, and then you're going to turn around and get on another 16-hour flight back instantly. So there's no visiting, there's no trip. Like, all you got to imagine that situation. The guy probably wouldn't be that excited about it. It's like, dude, what the fuck? What? You're not even going to give me a couple days to like see Australia for the first time? Like, you're just sending me right back an hour later? That's a very interesting example. But yeah, you'd be like, dude, nobody's looking forward to that. Right? Who would look forward to 32 hours of flight like that? Don't mind the specifics of it. But if somebody's dream is, holy crap, man, I finally lined it up. I'm going to Australia. I'm going to Australia for a week. I'm gonna go see the freaking, see the Outback, check out Wallaby Way, Sydney. Like, dude, I'm going to check this shit out. His ass is getting on that same airplane, extremely excited. Hold on, because he wants to do it. So that's where your own perspective on the matter can totally change the difficulty of a task, or the perceived difficulty, rather. Because someone who really doesn't care to work out, maybe a guy's, bringing his son to the gym and kind of like forcing him to tag along, and then you add like, sophomore high school dude angst, and he's like, I don't even want to be in the gym. I'm sure you've seen something like that. I've seen it a couple times, but that kid's, he's going to do a workout. He's probably not going to really like it, because he doesn't have that internal like hype and excitement for it, because he just doesn't, maybe he just doesn't see it, maybe it's just not his thing, whatever. But if you throw Sam in the gym, even back when I was a 160 pounder, I couldn't wait to go get an arm pump, because that's what I want to do. So that's what annoys me the most, beyond just like people being just mean for no reason. Like, I'm not saying to me, just like when you see it, when guys are just, they're chronic complainers. I don't see it a ton, but I have a couple blatant examples I always look back on, where it's like, I've never heard this guy say one positive thing, basically ever. Like, I've never heard him say one positive thing about like, just anything, like the day or the gym or what. Like, and I'd see him in the gym all the time, and he lifted hard, but it was always just, I feel like shit today. I'm like, I don't want that. I don't want that energy around me, So, but I'm not going to say that, because whatever, I'm not as bad. So I'll just say, yeah, you know it, man. All right. And then I go about my way, and I have a fun workout because I want to do it. So just it's kind of like when it's a fake it till you make it attitude, in the sense of like, if you think a little more positively, or you're only kind of highlighting and reacting and like, getting excited about the positive side of something, I think over time you're kind of conditioning your own brain to get excited, so I didn't have to go through that thought process, but sometimes I'll catch myself thinking that. Like, let's say maybe I'm doing cardio and I'm not exactly like super amped up for it, like feeling like Rocky, like I'm just, you know, like, all right, let's pedal. It does get me a little more amped when I think, like, all right, I know what I'm doing this cardio for. I wouldn't be doing it if I didn't want to do it. And then maybe turn the difficulty up a notch for like 2 minutes and then turn it back down to regular. Get a couple TikTok edits going. You know, that's what I want. I think there's a very strong angle to look at where it's where the mind goes, the body follows. So, you know, if you can get yourself in that headspace, maybe not of like complete insanity, like you're about to do a crazy heavy squat and you're screaming and you fucking throw some shit. Like, I'm not even saying that level, but just getting yourself in the headspace of, let's get this shit. I'm not exactly a massive David Goggins fan more than anybody else, but it's like, you know, let's take some souls, man. Let's hit this shit. Right? Let's get after it. And then just try to maintain that headspace the whole workout. And then once it's done, you get the post-workout catharsis of just knowing you did it, and you get to see yourself pumped. I mean, it's only positive reinforcement. You know, so that's how I see it. Basically, every lift only adds to my enjoyment and adds to my like excitement about lifting in general. Because every time, as long as like I rested decently and I got my water in and I ate, you know, within whatever my dieting plan is at the time, then I should show up to the gym and feel solid. You know, and if you need a rest day, then take one. But if you got solid prep pre-gym, then your performance in the gym is going to match, and then you're just going to have way more fun, right? When it feels like things are just aligning in your benefit, it doesn't matter if they were aligned by luck or if you were the one who aligned them. You still get that sensation of like, man, shit's going my way today. Right? Nice. So it's kind of it's kind of like you're your own main character and you're also your own supporting characters behind the scenes, because you think the lift is the fun part, and then, you know, sitting drinking 2 liters of water with some kind of electrolyte or whatever, that's not so fun, it's not so flashy, but it definitely helps the fun part, if you see what I'm saying. But now I'm just getting caught in a ramble, so let's just go get this arm day started. I'm gonna stick with biceps first, just like yesterday, and I'm definitely gonna do the same incline bench, like lean back dumbbell curls, but I want to change it up at least a little. So instead I want to start with just some squeezing emphasized bicep bias pull downs. And these are, you know, these are kind of an acquired taste. But in terms of like a bicep squeeze, if you can actually feel it, I think these are sweet, you know. But they're almost serving as just a pre-exhaustion style movement, because there's not a ton of weight in the stretch. So once I, you know, jump on the bench and grab the 40s are going to feel freaking crazy. So let's just get these started. And I'm still going hard. I'm just saying it's a very particular kind of movement. Okay. Whew. I started to feel my lats a little bit at the end. Yeah. Let's do one more of those. Two. Pull. Okay. All right. Yeah. And now 40s are gonna feel like 60s when I do these incline curls. The 40s will be good here. And I was just hyping up this movement a couple days ago. I only did these curls last arm day. I actually did. No, I did a little extra. But I did 4 sets of these curls, and I was like, this is sweet. Super good stretch, and like it's almost the bicep equivalent of an overhead tricep. Because if you want a really good stretch on the long head, well, then you're going to put your arm up here, because you're just lengthening, or not lengthening, what are you doing? Well, you're putting your tricep in a more stretchable position, right? So very similar with biceps here. If my bicep ties in at this part of my forearm, and the other side is way up here, kind of close to my chest, like upper arm-ish, well, it feels a lot tighter for me to hold the weight like back behind me than it does to just hold it right here in front of me. So having the seat be leaned back, you know what, like 30 degrees or so, it basically does it. Now, I don't need to optimize every part of every movement, but this one is pretty good, especially when it just hits a little bit extra. So the 40s will be good here. Poof. Okay. Okay. One more of those minimum. And yeah, same weight. I need the 40s to be about right. Okay. Okay. Crap. Yeah, those 2 sets of friggin' bicep bias pull downs did more than I thought. I'm gonna do a tricep movement next. So that was what, 4 sets of curls. So I'm gonna do a little bit of like an overlap. Like if this is the bicep workout and this is the tricep workout, I'm gonna overlap them a touch, right? This part's all biceps. I'm gonna do a couple back and forth supersets and then just finish with tries. You know, that could be a method of speeding up the lift, but my only motivation for that is just so I can finish with a full arm pump instead of slightly deflated biceps. But let's do a push down. With D handles this long, it may as well be like a rope, but instead of holding it like a regular rope, would you be like here down? Doing the underhand D handle kind of just starts off, it just starts off more underhanded, but it twists into a regular squeeze at the bottom. I almost can't describe it, but definitely worth trying. Actually, let me clip these one higher. There we go. All right, let's go back to a set of curls and then do one more of those. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Let's finish with one more curl. I'm not totally sure what it'll be yet. A preacher might actually look pretty good. This will be good. And I don't even need that much weight. 150, which is actually divided by half because of the pulley system. So really it's only 75 pounds, which is only like a little more than 30 in each hand. So I'm gonna really make these count. All right. Let's go do a push down. Okay. Oh, shit. All right. I think let's go back and forth between this and the overhead tricep extension machine. If it works like how I think, then 2 of those back and forths will be sweet. Hopefully this looks as cool as I think it does. The mirror is blocked by some of the machines. But an overhead tricep machine, apart from just being sweet, you know, you don't see them a ton, they make your triceps look crazy because like you got your overhead, you just got like, it's just sweet. I gotta adjust these machines so I can get a better look in the mirror. But yeah, let's hit this one. Do a little sleeve roll up for dramatic effect. Okay. Yeah, that was really good. Let's go back to another push down and then come back right here. Two. Okay. Whew. Shit. Yeah. I think that might be the last set of overhead, and then we'll be ready to pose down. All right, come on. Okay. Let's pose down. We're all freaking done. All right, so I've started timing these workouts, not because I'm trying to like speed them up or shrink them into a specific amount of time, just out of curiosity. So how long do you think that took? Obviously, I don't record like just sitting, scrolling TikToks on my phone, like, the saved ones I have that amp me up. Right? But that was what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 5, 6. 6 sets of biceps. And then, I forget. But it only took 48 minutes, right? That was not the longest freaking time. And that was a good combo. So, what I mean, how I did like basically half of biceps and then supersetting bis and tris and then finishing with just triceps. I think that, well, it's going to be up there as a method, at least for the foreseeable future. And then I cheated a little bit because I added a couple, actually I only did one set of 10 forearm curls on the D handle, but I feel like just from the one, my forearms are already extra pumped. But let's see what we're looking. Let's see what we're freaking looking like. Ooh, goodness. Yeah, we're getting somewhere. Oh, it's freaking hard to hold those vacuums. But even standing here, no pose, like just doing hands on hips, obviously with an arm pump, it's extra crazy. But we're getting there. Fast forward another 4 weeks. Abdominals should be, hopefully are going to be substantially more defined. And then, perhaps in like a little bit of a breath holdy, most muscular, there'll be a lot more fibers to be revealed as well. I say hopefully. I mean, I know it's going to happen, but since it hasn't happened, nothing's guaranteed. But let's get these lights off and freaking roll. Yeah, there we go. Gotta make sure the audio is working. But that was good. That was... that might have actually been too good. In the sense that I might have gone a little bit too hard. Because it's been like 20 minutes since that pose down. And bicep-wise, like I feel substantially more pumped and for longer than my last arm day. So maybe I don't know, maybe my hydration was on point a little bit more today. I feel like I've just been drinking, a solid amount like this whole time, like, 4 liters minimum. But today, I'm gonna feel my biceps tomorrow. And I know it's not a cool thought to say, but given that I'm still staying in a calorie deficit, I have to now think, like, did I overdo it? Like, did I over squeeze and burn where now I'm like just gonna be sore for longer and not recovered? But obviously, I'm not gonna lean into that too hard, right? That's just not freaking cool. But for me, that was good. So tomorrow is gonna be a little more chill, just hamstrings, because I'm splitting quads up and hamstrings up. So quads and hamstrings are only gonna be once per week. Everything else is still twice a week. But if I do quads every 4 days rather than every 8 days when I'm dieting, it just, like, I just build up fatigue. My knees start getting way more tender than they should. Like, they just, their frequency drops. That is one substantial change that I make from bulk to cut. But beyond that, for the most part, it's still pretty similar. I think I'm a little more cautious. Like, I'm not going to do crazy heavy sets dieting down. But, I mean, describe the Sam Sulek style anyway, right? I mean, if we really had to boil it down, I'd say, what do you think my average reps are? Definitely above 10. My average reps across the board, definitely a little bit above 10. I probably wouldn't be surprised if it was, maybe close to like a 12 or a 13. That's, with a couple partials at the end too. But, around that range, 2 failure, essentially every time. And varying between, heavy sets that are a little quicker paced, just because a quick curl to 60 is hard, or lighter squeezing and slower. So instead of like a quick 60, it's a slow 40, or like a burning holding preacher curl. And then, just doing as many as necessary until, I feel like I'm fully pumped and adequately, stimulated from the workout, which usually adds up to, I think, around 7. 7 is probably my lucky number. I'm sure maybe I have some kind of subconscious bias that makes me think 7, but just looking back, that's kind of been around the volume. Like, by the time I've done 6 to 8 sets, of back, of chest, of arms, of quads, around then is kind of when I feel like that's there, and that's not just like on a whim. Like, that is kind of based on all the lifts I've done before, where I've done, workouts where it's 25 sets of chest, or 25 sets of curls, 5 movements, 5 sets each. So I'm not necessarily saying that's the answer, but it's my answer currently. I think there's a very good take on, like, lowering volume, upping intensity where it meets a limit. Like, I don't think I could do a 2-set workout and have it be as good, stimulating, and then also conducive with like solid longevity over consistent time, right? I mean, I'm sure if I did, like, if I'm fully bulked, full of food, like just already pumped from walking in the door to the gym, and then for quads I did an insane set of squats and then a really big set of leg extensions, I mean, yeah, I think it would do something. But I don't think that that's the answer, and I also don't think that like 20 sets per body part is the answer either. So, somewhere in that middle ground, right? You're doing enough but not overdoing it, if you kind of feel me. But I mean, it's a wide gradient. Like I like the analogy of imagining like a bell curve, where somewhere in the middle is that sweet spot. Obviously 0 reps, 0 gains, so you're down here. And then, 200 sets every day. I mean, I think that's going to mess you up. And you're probably not going to get a ton of growth out of that. Probably more than 0. You're still being active. But let's just say essentially, well, whatever, it's still low. So in between 0 and 200, I think is this kind of shape, where it's like 0, you're getting zilch. Ooh, around this range, okay, now we're working with something. And then it starts to kind of taper off. So I'd probably argue, and not like heated argue, but like propose the idea that I think around that 6 to 8 rep area, or set area, hitting everything twice a week is a pretty valid approach. I think that if you really bring it, like, and also that's assuming every set is like really to failure, because that's how I have kind of been doing it. So assuming those constraints, I think that's good. But maybe you've got your thing is like you listen to Jay Cutler talk about doing sets that aren't always completely to failure and just doing more of them faster. So instead of a set of 15 reps of dumbbell curls, or a set of 17 or something to total failure, doing 10 or 12, putting them down, waiting 30 seconds, and then doing it again, and then waiting 30 seconds and doing it again, or whatever that rest period was, then that's a good workout too, right? Like it's hard to go wrong if your effort and consistency is there, which is. But that's not an answer, right? If we're trying to come up with like what's the best approach, it's a little counterintuitive to say, well, there's a lot of good approaches. And so that's where just try some stuff out. I think I've definitely gone through a few phases. For a while I was doing 2-a-days, where I would do quads and hamstrings in the morning, and then arms at night, and then the next morning I would do back in the morning, and then chest at night. That was the approach, because in my mind I was thinking, or somewhere I had read the number that hypertrophy takes place within a 48-hour period. So I should hit every muscle group every 48 hours. That was kind of the approach. The execution I don't think was perfect, because it's just too much. But I've been there. I've done all sorts of stuff. So, just because I do it the way that I like now, I'm not so closed-minded that I think that's like the only way. I'm a little closed-minded because with working out, like I like that it's my thing. It's very personal. It's not a team-based activity. Like I'm doing my stuff, and if it works, then good for me. And if it doesn't work, well, crap, I guess I screwed it up. And I kind of like that pressure, because like it gives you props because you did it. Nobody else did it. Nobody else I kind of want it to be like that. So sometimes it's a little tricky for me to like sit back and say like, or just totally listen to someone unbiased, because we've all there are definitely instances where somebody's telling you something and it's kind of it's a little bit closer to the mumbo side of mumbo jumbo than normal. Like if somebody starts talking about toning, somebody starts talking about I don't know, and eating any carbs always converts to fat, or like if someone says muscle converts to fat, like those kind of things, like that's when I think it's not a bad move to just non-smile and say, yeah, hell yeah, man, I've heard of that too, right? But there's also cases where I don't know. I mean, imagine like just listen to some kind of CrossFit guy tell you that you should train like him, or that something or whatever, right? Imagine a situation where you might think, oh, I don't know what this guy's talking about, right? I think it's good to try to at least remember that he likes it, so he sees it from a good perspective. So just take a listen, I can guarantee there's one aspect of training that I never even hear referenced. Like, I'm on my phone a ton. You know, I'm a time waster. I got to be better at it. And I'm sitting scrolling TikTok and Instagram. Like, I see reels from everybody. Like, it's a very different presence of like what you'd call the fitness industry when they post like short form reels versus like full long form like actual workout videos. But you know, I still see it. And one thing I see, you know, in all the clips that ever get clipped of these guys talking, they never talk about cardio. It never comes up ever. You know, I'm talking about guys who even are like, you know, they sell courses, they're selling training, which, you know, whatever. But cardio is never brought up once in this whole, you know, because it's like a constant debate of who's right and who's wrong. And I never hear cardio thrown in the mix at all. So it's, you know, in an ideal world, cardio would never be referenced because everybody does it. But I think it's more so it just gets swept under the rug because it's more fun to talk about, you know, is incline bench better than incline dumbbell rather than is cardio better than no cardio, you know, because nobody wants to be called out for not doing it, right? And that's one mantra I'm never gonna stop bringing up. Like, you're missing out. I know it doesn't seem like it, but that's the point. The fact that nobody else wants to do it is why, if you do, then you're getting your own, I mean, not only props that you're doing it, but also the benefits that it will, you know, that you'll reap from it. Right? It's like that not riggedy, what am I saying? It's like that raggedy chalice from that Indiana Jones movie. That's doing cardio. And it's not flashy, but guess what? It freaking works. So, plan now is to go home. I'm not at the point where I'm doing 2 phases of cardio per day. I'm just sticking with the 30 minutes in the morning. I think I'll add 30 post-workout eventually. Not today, but maybe in like a couple weeks or so. I don't want to overdo it. Last time I definitely had to crank it and, you know, throw down some extra cardio to really speed up my you know, my leanness process. So that's half of why I wanted to start a little earlier this year, because I wanted to give myself a little more time so I don't have to, you know, basically give myself deja vu of sitting on the cardio bike staring at the same apartment pool outside the little gym. I'm going to try not to do that this time. So it's when it comes to losing body fat, this will be my last point. You're always trying to separate these 2 bars right here. The bar on the left is your calorie intake, right? How much energy you're letting into your system, and then the bar on the right is your calorie expenditure, right? How active are you, combined with, you know, how many calories does it take for you to stay alive and breathe and pump blood through your whole system and do all your digestive bodily processes, which is pretty substantial. Like, it takes you more energy to just pump your blood and stay warm than it does to do 30 minutes of cardio. The 30 minutes helps, but most of your energy, like if you were to actually try to do the calculations, I don't know the exact number, I just remember seeing this referenced, like in terms of energy output, you could sit on a cardio bike all day and you're outputting, I don't know how many more times of energy just as heat than you are like the physical activity. But you always want to separate these bars so you have a gap. This is the deficit. You're burning this much and you're only letting this much in. So that's when you got to use those internal body fat stores. Like when I'm bulked up, I'm always saying, man, I'm really carbed up. I'm full of carbs. Let's hit this lift. Right now, it's the opposite. Like, I want to be flat. I don't want to be flat, but I do want to be flat because that's going to facilitate actual burning of body fat. And now I'm getting into a separate ramble, but I think some guys would argue, like, well, you can be totally full of carbs and you can just leverage body fat burning. You know, I'm sure maybe in some kind of way, like if you do a fasted cardio and then an ice bath and then, you know, I don't know, whatever. I think you're just trying to cheat the system at that point. The way I look at it, which I think it makes a lot of sense in my mind, is you've got 2 energy tanks in your body. One is body fat, stored energy, you know, once it's in there, it stays there. Nobody just loses body fat randomly. Like, it's got to be intentional. And then you've also got glycogen. So that's all that sugar from being carved up. Like if a marathon runner's, you know, he's got a marathon tomorrow, or a swimmer has something, he's going to eat a bunch of carbs the night before so that he's, you know, his glycogen stores, all these little storage cells in every one of his muscles are filled with sugar water. And that sugar water to energy transition, right? Like, you know, glycogen to ATP. You know, I know about ATP. That's like as far as my biology knowledge really goes. That's quick. That's very easy. Like you can convert carbs to ATP very quickly. Like that's like the easiest conversion. Body fat to ATP, to burn body fat or to oxidize body fat into energy for your actual body's use, not so easy. It's not so quick. Like it's much more desirable to burn through those internal carbs first, you know? So what I am thinking, or how I think about it, is okay, if I stay in my deficit, then I'm gonna essentially reduce the amount of internal glycogen and, you know, muscular carbs that I have. So shit, man, if I can't really run off those carbs, I'm gonna have to start using my body fat, right? And there's still carbs. Like if you could somehow microscopically, you know, zoom in on one of my like cells, my pecs, whatever vacuole that's holding all that glycogen, it's probably like maybe a third full right now compared to fully carbed up, right? So it's never empty because you need some carbs. There's a whole thing. It's called gluconeogenesis. Right? Gluconeogenesis Evangelion. So that's where you're taking either protein or body fat and literally turning it into carbs because your body needs some. Like your brain's running on a bunch of them. So all I'm saying is, if you're consistent, oh my god, I'm talking too much. If you're consistently in a deficit, you will be flat, right? You will be low in carbs, but I see that as a position where you're much more favorable to burn body fat in that deficit. If I eat like shit for 10 days in a row, tons like Skittles, ramen, freaking chicken, KFC, whatever, and I'm full of carbs, if for the next day I eat 1,000 calories, let's just say I hit my protein goal and I only eat 1,000 calories, I can almost guarantee I burned essentially zero body fat. All I would have done in that day of only 1,000 calories was burn through all of the glycogen and, you know, and like muscle sugar that I've got throughout my body. I don't know what the exact number is, but I think for a regular dude, like you're holding about 500 grams of glycogen in your whole system. I think you gotta, well, it's just everywhere, right? So, you know, that has to already be empty before you start, you know, getting into body fat. Like let's imagine somebody's in a freaking apocalyptic bunker, and they've got, you know, dried wheat cakes, and they have Ritz crackers. The guy's probably going to eat all the Ritz first before he uses the stuff that he actually has to use. So whether you kind of get that analogy or not, I'll try to, you know, say it in better ways over time. Especially when I do another full day of eating, I'll really kind of explain my my kind of thought process. But you know, that's the same thing with the training. Like my approach to dieting is also kind of, you know, tailored toward me. So the way I look at it, if it works for you, you're good, right? So it's sometimes I think the guys who really get after it are the ones who kind of figure it out a little bit for themselves, because then they get, you know, kind of in tune with their own build and their own everything, right? If you kind of get what I'm saying there. But I think nothing else to say. I'm gonna get some freaking ground beef into my system, and then I'll see you for either hamstrings or potentially a rest day tomorrow. Dieting down, I do think I need to throw in a few more, just for, well, you get what I'm saying. So we'll see. Either hamstrings or a rest day. But I'll have to see you then to find out.